before we go on to the next, is it true that Maimonides actually, because he was influenced by Islamic theology, that he actually influenced what we have somewhat of today, of that's pushing them towards monotheism somewhat? Is that correct? You guys were discussing that?
Absolutely. So this Maimonides was living in Andalusia.
Yeah.
And Jews really thrived under Muslim Spain, and Muslim Spain under Muslim rule.
Please don't lose your place. I just wanted, this is very important. If Jews thrived and Muslims, like according to today's mantra that's put out there, that Muslims hate Jews, how are they thriving in a society now that was Muslim powered, Ryan? How is that even possible?
Yeah, I mean, this is a kind of propaganda against Islam that's not historically based.
Okay.
It's not based on what the religion actually teaches.
So continue on, please.
Yeah, so Maimonides was in the 10th or 11th century in Andalusia, and he's considered to be the greatest scholar of Jewish law and also theologian within Judaism. So, an analog would be like Imam Abu Hanifa in Islam, or, Imam Ahmad. So he's a really big deal, and he, if you see like portraits of him that you'll find in Jewish books, he has like a turban and a beard. He looks like a Muslim, but that's the influence of the Muslim Spain, dominant Muslim Spain. And he is the one that kind of really tries to systematize Jewish theology, really focusing on, well, what does it mean to actually believe in God? What are the attributes of God? So he's taking that from Muslim theologians. And he also is very insistent on the concept of monotheism as well. That's something else that he's getting from Muslims, because if you look at the Talmud, or you look at even the Torah, you look at some of these previous Jewish communities, they're, as I mentioned before, ambiguous about, well, is there just one God that or there's like the concept of, thou shalt not take any other gods before me, like the statement that we find in the Bible. But what does that exactly mean? Does that mean that you worship God and there is no other God other than Almighty, God Almighty? Or does it mean there's God and then there's other gods, but you only worship one God? And if you worship other gods that exist, then God will get jealous. Like, that's the ambiguity in the Bible. Like, is it actually monotheism, or is it more like henotheism, where the henotheism means that there's not just one God, there's many gods, but you only worship one God? That's very distinct from Islam. Islam says that, no, there's one God, there is no other God, and you only worship that one
Period.
God.
Done.
Period. Done. Finished.
Yeah.
So the evolution of Judaism is that they have this kind of ambiguity: henotheism, bitheism, which is why I mentioned Metatron, like as a co-partner with God. You have henotheism, polytheism, and then as there's more Muslim influence up to Maimonides in the 11th century, then they get monotheistic and express things in a very Islamic way. So the misconception that Judaism is like the oldest religion, or Judaism is like the father, and then Christianity and Islam are like the little brothers or whatever. These are the kinds of things that are said. This is false. Like, Islam is actually the older religion because it influenced the theology of Judaism.